Here's what's coming up on today's show.
Nobody's working for free, but you should have an idea as far as what you're paying. And the only way that you can determine if you're getting value is understanding what you're paying. If you don't know what you're paying, then how do you know what you're receiving the value that you're paying for?
Hello, this is Mark Silverman, managing member and founder of Silverman & Associates, and I'm also a certified financial planner professional. I want to welcome you to the Saving with Silverman podcast. I'm glad you're here. Each week, we'll discuss different financial planning topics because making smarter choices about your money impacts the quality of your life.
I read something earlier this week, Mark, that kind of blew me away. I had no idea this was a fact, but our fun fact of the week. The first U.S. coin in circulation said, "Mind your business," instead of "In God we trust." "In God we trust" came later, but mind your business. Does that make any sense?
No, I never heard that either. That's news to me.
That's just kind of crazy. I don't know why they would have come up with that in the first place.
Yeah, there had to have been a reason. I don't know.
That was an idea that needed to be kicked out, sort of like taking out the trash.
Right, exactly.
Sometimes you just need to go through your financial life and take out the trash. So let's talk about the things that might need to be thrown out. And number one on this list would be debt. Why is it so important to get rid of that?
Well, I mean, there's different types of debt, right? And you've heard me say this before. Mortgage debt is not the worst. It's not bad because you can write off the interest. Typically, rates are lower. The worst debt that you can have, and student loans debt is not bad either, but try to pay that off as well. But credit card debt is the absolute worst. You know, using credit cards is fine. I mean, I use them, but you got to pay them off every month. And whether you're getting points and miles, that's a great way. It's a good way to track your expenses. But if you're using credit cards and you're not paying it off every month, we have over $1 trillion in credit card debt now. That's the next big, hammer to drop, if you will. And so, rates are going to continue to get higher. Yeah. Some are back in the 20 and 30% range. There's a lot of defaults going on with credit card debt. So that's the worst debt that you can have. If we see that, you've got to figure out a way to eliminate that and pay it off as soon as possible. So, debt can be used smart, but again, credit card debt is not the way to go.
And certainly going into retirement, I mean, that's one thing you need to just get rid of.
Yeah, you got to be able to live within your means.
That bad debt. How about too much risk? I mean, that's something else that you don't want in your portfolio.
Well, everybody's got a certain amount of risk, and you've got to take risk in order to maintain, ahead of inflation and taxes and that sort of thing. And so, everybody needs a certain amount of risk in their portfolio, depending on how much. But a lot of times people, as they're accumulating and saving for retirement, they're putting money in retirement accounts, and whether it be a 401k, TSP, SEP, Simples, IRAs, Roths, whatever it might be, they're putting money away and it's growing, they're accumulating, so they have more risk. A lot of times once you retire and you need to start withdrawing off those assets, not in every case, but a lot of times people become more conservative, so we back off some of that risk. So it's understanding how much risk you're taking, and a lot of people have no clue how much risk they're taking. And it's a unique phenomenon how when the markets are going up, everybody wants risk, but when the markets are going down, nobody wants risk. And unfortunately, you can't have it that way. We can't time the market. So you've got to stay in the right amount of risk for you that's going to get you through your goals.
After someone makes that phone call and they have that complimentary conversation with you, and maybe they come in for the first time and you take a deep dive into their portfolio, you find out that they have so much risk that they are absolutely stunned and shocked. And that is the case with so many people, isn't it?
It is. I mean, a lot of people, or they're not taking enough risk. It could go the other way too.
Yeah.
You can't be too conservative. So we do an assessment when we do a financial plan. We'll take a look at their current investments. We assess their risk number, and then we compare the two and see where they're at. And then we come up with a number. Go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I was just going to say another thing that you find out for them and that they may not know, hidden fees or unnecessarily high fees that they have on their accounts. And that is something else that surprises folks.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's working for free, including us, but you need to understand the fees that you're paying, and you want to work with someone who's transparent as a fiduciary. And I can tell you on the radio, there's a lot of these people who are selling these annuities. They tell you there's no fees. Well, how do you think they're getting paid these huge commissions when they sell you these products? So there are fees, and you need to understand how those are taken out of the account. The other one is, variable annuities have a lot of high fees as well. Those are one of the most expensive products you can own. So you've got to understand what the fees are in some of these products. Some of them are not liquid. So there's a lot that goes on. So if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And so you need to understand the fees that you're paying. And again, nobody's working for free, but you should have an idea as far as what you're paying. And the only way that you can determine if you're getting value is understanding what you're paying. If you don't know what you're paying, then how do you know what you're receiving the value that you're paying for?
If you've heard something bad about annuities and the word annuity just makes you feel a little bit nervous or you get a negative feeling, chances are we're talking about variable annuities here.
It could be, but there's also some other ones too that have that have big promises that don't deliver what they say they're going to deliver. So
okay, another form of trash that needs to be taken out is lazy money, and we've talked about this a lot in the past. What we mean by that is money that isn't even growing enough to keep up with inflation, money that is actually losing ground to inflation over time.
Yeah, and we see this a lot. A lot of people have been enamored since money market rates, have been in the 3, 4, even 5% range just, in the last couple of years. And a lot of people have become enamored with that. What they don't take in consideration is that you have to pay taxes and there's inflation. So when you minus those two out, you're really not making much. You have to have a certain amount of cash, liquidity, or emergency funds, whatever you want to call it. And we come up with a number. So when we do a plan for somebody based on their situation, we'll say, hey, you need to keep $30,000 liquid at all times. But what people don't understand is if you take out $10,000 to buy, a new AC unit or something like that because your air conditioning unit breaks, then we need to replenish that back to 30. Or the reverse is true. If we say 30 and now you have 50 in there, we need to pull 20 of it out and get it invested so it stays ahead of taxes, inflation, and fees. So you need to understand that, and you want to make sure all of your money's working for you above and beyond what the emergency fund should be at.
And here in Arizona, you can't go without your AC.
No, you
no
can't.
Question about that. But the last thing I wanted to mention here is when it comes to taking out the trash, those people you always talk about, those product salesmen that are on the radio advertising these things, brokers or advisors who look out for themselves instead of the client. And that is not Mark Silverman.
No, I'm a CFP, and if you're working with someone or talking to someone, ask them if they're a CFP. And, if they're not, ask them why and see what they say. But I can tell you that, CFPs are required to be fiduciaries. There are some other advisors that are required to be fiduciaries, but a lot of these people that are selling these high commission products, typically annuities. There's another gentleman here in town that sells these LERPs, which is another thing I would stay away from as much as you can, which is a complicated insurance product. These people are just looking to get a commission. They can care less what you do after you purchase it because they've gotten paid up front, and that's not what you want. So, ask questions. If something doesn't make sense, keep asking questions or seek other advice and get a second opinion or third opinion or fourth opinion, whatever it might be.
Well, you're right. That is not what you want, dealing with a person like that. And a lot of Mark Silverman's business is all about relationships, building relationships with folks that you trust. And that's what it's all about when you deal with Mark Silverman.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to be harsh, but I can tell you recently we've met with several folks who have gone to these people and been pitched or sold these products, which is, I can tell you, is not in their best interest. And, some of these people wish they would have talked to me second before they did something.
Yeah.
Because once you get into these things, depending on the time frame, you're stuck and there's nothing else you can do. You're locked in. So.
Yeah, Mark can help you avoid making costly financial mistakes like this. If you'd like to get acquainted with the True Wealth financial life planning process, because making smarter choices about your money impacts the quality of your life, call Mark Silverman's office. Do it today. Call or text 520-333-7601. 520-333-7601. There's a complimentary 20-minute long introductory conversation on the phone to start, to get acquainted, and then you can move on from there. 520-333-7601. No cost, no obligation. You've been listening to the Saving with Silverman podcast. If you have any questions at all about your financial situation, please give Mark Silverman a call. Again, his number is 520-333-7601, or go online to savingwithsilverman.com. For Mark Silverman, I'm Ron Stutz. We'll see you next time on the Saving with Silverman podcast.
The Saving with Silverman podcast is brought to you by Silverman & Associates Wealth Management, LLC, based in Tucson, Arizona. The show is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and everywhere you listen to shows. Subscribe to the show on your favorite app today and never miss an episode. Just search for Saving with Silverman to find us, or visit savingwithsilverman.com to listen to past episodes, to contact Mark, and to learn more about how to make smarter decisions with your money.
Did you know that Mark Silverman also has a radio show? Tune in to Saving with Silverman Saturdays and Sundays at 3 p.m. on AM 790 KNST.
All matters discussed on this show are for informational purposes only. Opinions expressed are solely those of Silverman & Associates Wealth Management, LLC, and staff. All topics covered are believed to be from reliable sources. However, Silverman & Associates Wealth Management, LLC makes no representation as to its accuracy or completeness. This show shall in no way be construed as a solicitation to sell securities or investment advisory services to residents of any state other than Arizona or where otherwise permitted. Topics should be discussed with your individual advisor prior to implementation. Fee-based financial planning and investment advisory services offered through Silverman & Associates Wealth Management, LLC, a registered investment advisor in the state of Arizona. Insurance products and services are offered through Silverman & Associates, an affiliated company.